had to leave. I guess I had to lose you. To find me. Cause they say time heals all wounds, but your wounds cut so deep. I guess I had to lose you on the way to find me.
Assalamu alaikum my YouTube family, welcome back to Code Dev Academy. In this channel we bring you tips, tutorials and insights on web development. So guys, in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys how to make a login form using just HTML and CSS. So guys, without wasting much of your time, let me show you the list of files we need and let's head to our VS Code shop. Okay guys, as you can see, all we have here, we have our HTML file, we have our CSS file, and we have some list of images here. So we have two images here that we're going to use. So let's head to our VS Code right now. Okay guys, I'm in my VS Code right now, and as you can see, I haven't done much. All I did was I named my title to be login form, and I linked my HTML to my CSS. For the body, I haven't done anything. So what I'm going to do first is to create a wrapper, which my wrapper is going to be the whole body of my form. It's going to contain everything about my form. So first of all, let me create a div with a class name of wrapper. So this my wrapper, as I said earlier, is going to be the whole body of my form. So within my wrapper, I'm going to create a div with a class name of form, and my form is going to contain all my input tags, my buttons, my text, and everything is going to be within my form. In my form, I'm going to create a h1, my header one, which is going to be my login. I'm going to write login. Then now I'm going to create two divs. My first div is going to be going to contain an input of my username, and the second div is going to contain an input of my password. And these two divs, I'm going to give them the same class name, because when I'm targeting my first div in my CSS, when I'm styling it, it's also going to affect to my second div. That's the reason I'm going to give them the same class name. So instead of me writing everything, I'm just going to write div, and I'm going to write dot. Then my class name is going to be input. It's going to be input box. Then I'm going to write times 2. When I click, that's just a shortcut of it. Instead of me writing everything, it will just make my life much more easier. After that, what I'm going to do now is to come down and create an input. For the text, I'm going to leave that. So I want to give a placeholder. Of username, and that's it for my first div. So for the second div, I'm going to come down, put an input, and for here I'm not going to let it to be text. I want it to be password, and I'm going to give it a placeholder of also password. The reason I'm giving them a placeholder of like this, the first one I gave it a placeholder of username because I want the username to appear on my box before I start typing. The text username should appear on the box. And for this one also, I'm giving it a placeholder of password. I want the text password to appear on the box. So let me just save and show you an example of what I'm talking about. Sorry, it's loading a bit. So with that, let me just tell you just something, guys. Like, one thing about coding tutorials is when you watch a video, you feel like you understand it, but the moment if you don't go and practice it, like you won't get it. You feel like you have understood it, you just move on. Like, one thing with coding tutorial, you have to go and practice it, you have to go and keep going on it, and that's just the only way to improve. Okay guys, look at what I'm talking about when I say placeholder. I gave it a username. You see, for the password also, I gave it a placeholder of password. That's the reason why password is appearing here and username is also appearing here. And guys, this was our h1. Okay, now then let's go back to our VS Code. So what I'm going to create now is, in login forms, there's something like most of the time below the input, there used to be something like a checkbox, and by the side is going to be like a text written remember me. By the other side is going to be like a text forget password or something like that. So that's what I'm going to create right now here. But before that, let me show you. This was our h1. This is our h1, and this was our first div. It's opened here, it's closed here. Our second div opened here and closed here. That's it for our input. So I'm going to come down and create a div with a class name of terms, This is our terms. So first I'm going to do is I'm going to create a label. For the for, I'm going to write checkbox. Then here I'm going to create an input, which is going to be our checkbox. An input. I'm going to create an input value. Here is going to be our checkbox. That's for our input value. That's it. But for here, since our input closed here, so within here I'm going to write a text. Within our label, I'm going to write a text outside our input value, because I want my checkbox to come first, then a text will follow. My text is going to be something like remember me. That's my text. So when I save, let me show you guys. So this is what I'm talking about. Our checkbox came first, then our inputs came first. Okay, sorry, I had a mistake here. There's supposed to be space between this remember me. Sorry, let me go back. Yeah, when I save, yeah, there's a space now. So let me go back to our VS Code. That I'm going to create an anchor tag. Here I'm going to assign it to actually a hash, nothing. I'm not going to send it to anything. So here I'm going to write something like forget password. So when I save, it's going to appear there. Yeah, checkbox came first, then a text, then this was our link, which is forget password. But when I click on it, it's not going to take me to anything, because as you can see here, I only took assign it to a hash, so it's not going to take me to any place. So now let's go back to our VS. So what I'm going to do now is I want to create a submit button. So I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to write an input here. This here is going to be submit. It's going to be submit, and I'm going to give it a value. I'm going to give it a value of login. For the value, I'm going to write login here, and I want to also give it a class name. I want to give it a class name of btn, because I'm going to use btn to target it in my CSS. So I believe that's all for my button. So I'm going to come down, also create another div with a class name of register. It's a class name of register, and within this my register div, I'm going to create a paragraph. The first text I'm going to write here is don't have account. So what's going to follow next is an anchor tag leading to nothing, which is hash. So here I'm going to write register. So if you don't have an account, there's going to be a link, the register. So when I save and I go to my browser, don't have an account, register. But even when I click here, it's not going to take me to anything, because I used hashed. You see, this is what I'm talking about. I linked it to nothing, so it's not going to take me to anything. So let me come back to my VS Code. So I'm done with my HTML layout. So what I'm going to do next is let me go to my CSS file. Okay, this is my CSS file, and I haven't done anything. So the first I'm going to do is to give it like this, and I'm going to make my margin to be 0. I'm going to make my margin to be 0, and my padding also to be 0. I want to make my box sizing to be border box. So another thing I'm going to do is I want to make my font family to be system UI. My font family is going to be system UI, and my outline is going to be none. And my text decoration is also going to be none, because I have my HTML, I have some links there that have a default underline. So me making it none here, all of them are going to disappear. So now I'm targeting my body. So what I'm going to do now is body, and I'm going to make it a minimum height of 100 VH, minimum height of 100 VH, and after that I'm going to make it a display flex, because I'm making it flex because I want to move my form to the center of my page. That's why I'm making it flex to be flexible, and I'm going to align my item to the center, align item center, and I'm going to make it justify content also to be center. After making it justify content to be center, I also want to give my background image. So after making background, now I'm going to put URL. So now, if you can remember at the first video, I mentioned that I had some images I want to use. You can see I have a folder here, images, and inside my images here, I have two photos here. The first one is VWBG, and the second one is water flow. So after knowing that I have my images here, another thing is, if you want to close this side of your page, instead of you like typing, going here, clicking this, clicking it on, clicking, you can just Control B. It's going to close, and Control B is going to open, Control B is going to close. So just to make your life much more easier. So knowing that I have my images here in my folder called images, so I can't just come and write the name of my image here like water flow here, and it's not going to work that way. I have to specify that my image is inside a folder called images. What I'm going to write here is, I'm going to write images here. So I'm going to write a stroke like this, which is going to tell you that enter images and search for photos that are inside it. That's the meaning of this stroke. Like, go and check the photos that are inside this folder. That's the reason of this stroke. So when I put it, you can see it brought a list of images that were inside. But I'm going to use this water flow. So when I click on it, in here, click, and when I save, let's check our browser. Happening, the image is here, but I'm having a couple number of images which I only want just one, and it's giving me 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I just need just one clean one. I'm going to write background repeat, then it's going to be no repeats. So when I save, let's check our browser. So I'm only having one image here. So what I'm going to do is, I have to size the image to fix my screen. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to give a background size of 100%. A background size of 100%. So when I save, as you can see now, my image has filled my screen. It is 100% of my screen. So after knowing that, I believe this is all for my image. So now what I'm going to do is to target my wrapper. First of all, I'm going to write dots, then wrapper. So the first thing I'm going to do in my wrapper, which is the whole body of my form, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to give it a background color. So I'm going to write a background color of I can make it to be blue also. So when I save, my background color is going to be blue, but I don't want. I'm going to use another thing called transparent. I know you'll be thinking, okay, how am I going to see the background when it's transparent? I know what I'm doing, putting it transparent. So after putting it transparent, I want to make a backdrop filter. I don't know if you've heard of this before, but the backdrop filter, you can make your background to be blurred, and I'm going to use it just to make my background to be blurred. So I'm going to backdrop filter, and I'm going to make it to be blur first, and I'm going to use 20 pixels. I want my background color to be 20 pixels blurred. So when I save, instead of it being transparent, it's going to be blurred. As you can see, it is 20 pixels blurred by this side. So, and I know you'll be thinking, you see, it is filling the whole side of my image. So let me go back to my VS Code. What I'm going to do next is I want to give it a weight of 320 pixels. And when I save and I go to my browser, I don't know if you notice the difference, but it is a little bit of difference. But let me add something here. Let me make it to be 390 pixels. So when I save, now have you noticed the changes here? The weight is increasing, but I want it to be just 320. I'm going to make it to be 320 here. I'm going to come back here, and I want to make a border here, but I want the border to be 1 pixel, so solid gray. I don't want to have a serious color there. I just want something soft. So I'm just making the border should be 1 pixel solid gray. So when I come back here, I'm going to bring a border radius, of 20 pixel. I want to bring a border radius of 20 pixel. So when I save, and let's just check our browser here, you can see how curved the edges are. If I go back to my VS Code here, what I'm going to do next, after having my border radius to be 20 pixels, I'm going to create a padding because I want to have space between my text and my body. So I'm going to have a padding here, and for this padding, I'm going to make it to be 1 m, which is going to create space between them. After having it, then what I'm going to do next is I want to create a box shadow for my login form. So after creating this, it's going to be 1 pixel. It's going to be 1 pixel top and bottom, 1 pixel left and right, and 5 pixel blood. And for the color, I'm going to use RGB, which the first one is going to be, I'm going to use a black color, which is going to be 0, which black is 0 0 0. So I'm going to do 0 also, and for the blue here is also going to be 0. So when I save and I go to my browser, as you can see, a space was created between this side and this side also. There's a space here, that's because of my padding that I use of 1 m. And if you notice, there's a little bit of back shadow here, if you notice, because I use 1 pixel top and bottom, because there's 1 pixel space of back shadow here. I use 1 pixel and also 5 pixels to be blood, so that's why it's having this soft color. So let's go back to our VS Code now. After having my box shadow to be black and having this, so I'm done with my wrapper. What I'm going to do next is target my login. So after completing my wrapper, so what I'm going to target now is my H1, which is my login. If you have a big project, you have to specify the H1 that you want to target. So in this case, even though I'm only having one H1 here, but I want to show you guys how to specify a specific H1 that you want to, not only H1 but H1 anything, but you want to specify it. So first of all, if you realize that my H1 is inside my form here, and my form also is inside my wrapper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to my CSS here. All right, dot my wrapper, which is first, then dot also now to target my form, next then to target my H1. That's to tell you that I want to style my H1 that's inside my form, that's also inside my wrapper. So anything I write within here will only style this specific H1, which is this one, which is my login. So let me come back to my CSS file. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to make it my font weight. I want my font weight to be 800. I want my font weight to be 800. By default, 700 is bold, so I'm making it to be 800 will make it to be bolder. So after having my font weight to be 400, I want my font size. To be 2 rem. My font size to be 2 rem. After having it to be 2 rem, I want the color of my text to be white, plain white. Then I want to align my text to be center, so I'll write text align. I'm going to center. So this text align will take my login form to the center of my form. Will take my text to the center of my form. So let me just show you what I'm talking about. If you notice, because I made it to be 800 bold, so that's why it's so big like this, and this font size is 2 rem, and I aligned it to the center, and I made the color to be white. So I'm only targeting this my login. So let me go back to my CSS file. So that's all for my login. What I'm going to target next is my input box. My input box, which is the one holding my username and my password. So, and if you notice that I told you at the back that I have 2 input boxes. The first one is holding my username and the second one is my password, and I named it, I have two divs and I name it the same class name, because so that when I'm targeting this div will also reflect the second one. So let me go back to my CSS file. So first thing I'm going to write is I'm going to write my input box, but one thing is I want to make sure that my input box is inside my wrapper. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to write dot wrapper, then dot input box. That's the first thing. So after my putting my input box to be that, so I'm going to make a position I'm going to make it to be a position relative, So after that I'm going to make it a weight, give it a weight of 100%. So me making my input box to be a weight of 100% is just to tell you that since my wrapper is 320 pixel here, so my input box is 100%. That means indirectly my input box is 320 pixel. So if I make my input box here to be 50%, that's to tell you it's going to be half of this, which is going to be 160 pixel. So let me just save this and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, and I realize that you're not seeing any difference here, but let me give you a color to the input box and you can see what I'm talking about. A color to red. So if you see here, yeah, that's what I'm talking about here. So now my input box is 100%. That's this space here is my input. It's not my input box. My input box is the body of my input. So my input box here is 100% here. But the reason you're seeing space by this side, it's not filling till here, is because I made my wrapper to have 1 M by this side, by the left, 1 M by the right, 1 M by the top, and 1 M by the bottom. That's the reason, but it's actually 100% here. So let me remove this background color. Background color of it, and I will make a padding also. I'm going to make a padding. A padding to be 0.8 M. 0.8 M. Top and bottom to be 0.8 M. 0.8 M. And I want my left and right to be 0 M. So when I save and I take you guys to the browser, so you've seen what just happened. It's actually created a space top and bottom here. So within here there's a 0.8 M, and this here too there's 0.8 M. So there's 0.8 M from the top here, and there's also 0.8 M from the top here from the password. That's what just happened. So I'm going to target my input, which is this is my input, which is having a placeholder of username. That's my two input. I have two inputs, the first input and the second input. The first input has a placeholder of username and the second input has a placeholder of password. So I'm going to come to my CSS file. First of all, I'm going to target my input box, which my input is inside my input box. The first is input, and second I'm just going to write input here. So after that, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a weight of 100%. Weight of 100%. So after that, I'm going to give a border radius. I'm going to give a border radius of 20 pixels. A border radius of 20 pixels, because I want the edges to be a little bit curved. So what I'm going to do next, I want to give a border size, which my border is going to be 1 pixel, sorry, 1.6 pixel, 1.6 pixel, solid gray. That's my border. So after that, I'm going to give a padding of 0.5 M. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to give a font weight. My font weight is going to be 500. So after that, I want to give a color to the text. color to just be white, So I want to have a font size of 0.9 rem, font size of 0.9 rem. Okay, after having a font size, my background color of my inputs, I will just make it to be transparent. So when I save and I head to my browser, this is actually the result for it. This is actually the result that we got from it. Okay, now after having our result to be this, so what I'm going to do is to target my placeholder, which is my username and my password. They are my placeholders. So the first thing I'm going to do now is to target your placeholder. What you're going to do is target it is a little bit different than the others. So what you're going to do is to give 2 of this first, then write your placeholder, then give your style. So the first thing I'm going to do to my placeholder is to change my font size. I want my font size to be 0.8 m, to be 0.8 rem. So after that, I'm going to give a font weight to be 500. I want my font weight to be 500. Then after that, I'm going to give a color to my text, but in this case, I'm going to do it to make it to be in RGB. So the first one, I'm going to make it to be 196, and for the second one, I'm going to make it to be 187, and also the third one, I'm also going to make it to be 187. So with that, let me come down and also give a padding to be 0 m top and bottom, and for the left and right to be 1 m, for the left and right. So when I save, let's see our results. So as you can see the difference here, I have a little bit of space by this side, also by this side, and my font size is 0.8 rems. So let me go back to our VS Code. So what I'm going to target next is our terms, which is here. As you can see, our terms, a div which contain our checkbox and our remember me text and our anchor link, forget password. That's our terms. I'm going to write terms. I'm going to write terms. So the first thing I'm going to target is to make it a display flex. I want to make it display flex, and I want to align it to center, align item center, and also justify content also to be center. And I'm also going to give a margin to the top of the text to be 30 pixels, margin top to be 30 pixels. So when I save and I head to my browser, so this is actually what happened. I have a 30 pixel space from the top, and I made it to be display flex, and I aligned it to be center, and I made a space between. So it's a little bit dark here because I'm having my text to be having a purple color, and it's actually somehow, but don't worry, I'm going to style it. So let me come back to my file. So the next I'm going to style is my input, which is my checkbox. So the first I'm going to write target my terms. Since my input is in my terms, I'm going to target my terms first, then I'm going to write input. I'm going to specify that my type of my input I'm going to target is checkbox. I want to color my checkbox, but what I'm going to do now is I want to give it an accent color, of, so I want to use RGB to color it, which the first one is going to be 99,99, and 153. So this is actually the unique color that I want to use to color it. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to give a margin to my right to be 8 pixel, and after giving the margin to the right to be 8 pixel, I'm going to give a cursor to the pointer. So when I save, I believe that's all for my checkbox. I gave it a color and I gave a space from the right and I just made a cursor to be pointer. So what I'm going to do next, I want to target my label, which let me show you guys from my HTML. This was what I just finished styling, which is my text, but which is my checkbox. This is what I just finished styling, which was also inside my label, but this is where it opened. It started here and it's closed here. So this text is label. It's not in my input. It's actually in my label. So any style I give to my label will only affect to this my text here. So that's actually what I want to style. This my text. This remember me. So let me go back to my HTML, my CSS. Sorry. What I'm going to do now is I want to target terms first. Term first. Then what I'm going to do now is label. So the first thing I'm going to do, I want to give it a font size of 0.8 rem. So font size of 0.8 rem. Font size of 0.8 rem. So after giving it a font size, I want to give it a font weight also. Font weight of 500. Font weight of 500. I want to give it a text color, which is color, and it's going to be anti-Q white. So I believe that's all for my label. That's all I want to do for my label. What I want to do next is to target my anchor tag, which is also, let me show you from my HTML. Since I just finished targeting my label, which is my text, so what next is to target my link here, which is forget password. So that's what I want to target. But don't forget that also this my link here is also in my label, but it actually is in a different tag, which such as how this my input is in a different tag. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to target label first, then my anchor link. So let me go back. What I'm going to do now is label is terms first, terms first, then my link here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to give it a font size also, a font size of 0.8 rem, 0.8 rem, 0.8 rem. So after giving it a font size, I also want to give it a font weight also, font weight of 500. So what next is to give it a color, a text color, which is also going to be anti-Q white. So now I'm going to give padding from my left and right. Since I'm not going to give padding from my top and bottom, I'm just going to give padding from my left and right. So what I'm going to do now is padding. So my top and bottom, I'm just going to use 0m. My left and right, I'm going to use 0.5m. 0.5m. So when I save and I take you guys to my browser, this is actually our results. As you can see, the login page is actually changing small. So let's go back to our VS Code right now. Okay, now I want, when I hover on this my link, an underline should appear. But if you can remember, at the beginning of this my CSS file, I made a text decoration to be none, so all my underline links are gone now. So what I'm going to do now is to create a hover. So I'm going to write, okay, now terms. No, I'm going to write terms, so my anchor link will follow. With that, I'm going to write now, so when I hover, so I'm going to write text decoration to be underline. So when I save this and I go to my browser, so when I hover on this my forget password, a cursor will come out and it underline will come out also. So if you could notice, this is what is actually happening. So when I hover on it, an underline is coming out, but still when I click on it, it's not going to take me to anything. So let me go back to my VS Code right now. What I'm going to do now is target my submit button, which this is my submit button. Here, my input, which I made a type to be submit, and I gave it a value of login, and I classed it with the name of BTN. So let me go back. So I'm going to target it using the BTN class name. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to write input. Since my BTN is inside my input, so I'm going to write input first. Then after giving it an input, I'm going to write dot and put my class name, which is BTN. So after then, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a weight of 100%. A weight of 100%. When I save and giving it a weight of 100%, and I'm going to give it a height of 45 pixel, a height of 45 pixel. So, and I also want to give it a margin from the top. I want to give a space, so I'm going to use 30 pixel space from the top, which is going to be margin top 30 pixel. So, and I'm going to give a border radius of 40 pixels. I want the edge of my button to be a little bit curved, so I'm going to give a border radius of 40 pixel, 40 pixel, 40 pixel. And I'm going to give a border to be none, So after giving a border to be none, I also want to give it a box shadow. So I'm going to use box shadow. So I want to give 1 pixels top and bottom, 1 pixel top and bottom, 1 pixels left and right, and 4 pixels to be blurred, and 4 pixels to be blurred, and 4 pixel blurred. So, and I'm going to use an RGBA. So, but this my first number is going to be 128, which my second number is also going to be 128. And also my third number is also going to be 128. But for my alpha, it's going to be 0.658. 0.658. Yeah. So when I save and I come down here, before running it, I want to give my background color also. So background color is going to be anti-Q white. After having my background color to be anti-Q white, I'm going to make my text color to be black. And I'm going to give a font weight of 600. And I'm going to give a cursor to be pointer. So I believe I'm done with my button. So what I'm going to do next is okay, let me check this off. So let me run it on my browser so that you guys can see our result of how our button is. You see how big our button is. You see how it changes from the other side. Look how it changed. So another thing is, I want when I hover on my button, there should be like a background color. I change a little bit. But so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to write okay btn, then hover, So when you hover on btn, there's going to be changes, which I'm just going to make a background color to be something similar to anti-Q white, is going to be like Alice blue. So when I save and I go back to my VS Code, so if you notice when I just hover, there's a little bit of change in it. My pointer will just point on it, and there's going to be a little bit of changes. Just notice it. There's a little bit of Alice blue there. So let me go back to my VS Code. I believe that's all for my button. So what I'm going to target now is my register. If you can remember, I have a div that I've named it to be register. Here's my div register, which it don't have an account, and also it followed by a link register. So let me go back to my CSS file. Let me target my register dot, then register. So what I'm going to do first is I want to give a font size of 0.8 rem. After giving it a font size of 0.8 rem, I also want to give it a font weight of 500. Then I want to give it a color of anti-Q white. So what I'm going to do next, I want to give a margin top. So I want a space from the top, which is I'm going to give 20 pixels. Margin top. I want to give my space from the top, which is going to be 20 pixels. So after giving this space, what I'm going to do now is to text align. I'm going to give a text align to be center. I want to align my text to the center. So What I'm going to do next is, after aligning to the center, so let me run it for you so that you can see. So you see what just happened. So this our text are now all in the center. You see, this is our I don't have an account, and this is our link, but it's, you're not seeing it very well, but don't worry, I'm going to style it to the color that you can see it. So you see our checkbox to be here and our unique color. So let me go back to our VS Code. Now what I'm going to target is our A, which is our register. So let me see register first. I'm going to target register. I'm going to target our link. So the first thing that I'm going to do for our link is to change the color, because we are not seeing it. So what I'm going to do is to give it a color of just white. I'm just going to give it a color of white so that you guys can actually see it very well. Color of white. So when I save and I go to my browser, you see how it's appearing here. Our register is appearing. So let me go back to our VS Code. So after giving it a color of white, I'm going to give it a font size of 600. A font weight of 600. Font weight of 600. So I believe that's all for what I want it to be. So another thing is, I want when I hover on my link, there should be something that will appear. So let me first, I'm going to write let me just copy this. So copy this first. So when you Control C, you come here, take it down, Control V. Then when I'm going to write hover. So when I hover, I want some changes to happen. What's that changes? It's just a text decoration. So I'm going to write text. I'm going to write text decoration to be, sorry, not text align. Text decoration to be underline. So when I save and I go to my browser, as you can see how it is. So when I hover on it, there's going to be an underline. You can see it. There's going to be an underline that comes out. So guys, we have come to the end of our tutorial, and I hope you have actually gained something out of it. Another thing I want to tell you guys is, if you're going to watch a YouTube tutorial, well, the first thing is, when you watch a YouTube tutorial, you have to go and practice it by yourself. You can't just watch a YouTube tutorial and just assume that you have understood it, because the next time you're going to go into it and try to do it, you're not going to be able to do it because you're going to get confused. So the best thing about YouTube tutorials and coding is, when you watch a YouTube tutorial, you practice it, you change it to your own style, you change it to the way you want it to be, you change the values, you change the numbers, just to make it your own style. That's the secret to YouTube tutorials and coding. So with that, my name is Bin Mustafa, and if you're new to Code Dev Academy, please kindly help my channel grow by please subscribing to the channel and turning on the notification bell, so that anytime I post a new video, you're going to be the first to watch. So I believe we are done with for today.